Welcome to the Knox Connection. My name is Craig Miller. I'm the minister here at Knox United, and it's good to be with you today. We're going to begin with some gathering music, number 142 in More Voices, Oh, a Song Must Rise. So let's rise in body and spirit as we sing. A song must rise, and there's another song rising here this morning, or I think one that should rise, a happy birthday song to Bernie.
Well,
How's my crew?
You should have told me that ahead of time.
Sorry.
I thought maybe Jane was about to
what they say, that wisdom often comes with age, right? Have you heard that before? No, Jim says no. Unfortunately, sometimes age comes alone.
Yeah, I think that's the case.
I don't know if that's true for Bernie, but happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
And I don't know if you can see it there. He's got a little treat there.
Yeah.
Lollipops or chocolate.
Cake pops.
Cake pops.
Yeah, made by Jane Skinner Kitchens.
Is that right? By Jane Skinner Kitchens. Jane Skinner Creations.
Yeah.
Well,
Thanks, Jane.
happy birthday, my friend.
Thank you.
As you know, it's also Mother's Day, and the United Church is participating in a new campaign this year, Make Mother's Day More. And hopefully you've seen it on our Facebook page and through our email news. We are both celebrating mothers and those who have played a mothering role in our lives, including non-binary and transgender mothers. And we're committing to support mothers and families in multiple ways. During the prayers of the people today, we'll recognize mothers who may be grieving in this period of time, grieving the loss of a child. Some we know are grieving the death of their mother, women who long to be mothers, and those who choose not to be mothers. In our campaign, we're supporting United Church partners that are providing things like parenting classes, medical clinics, safe shelter, and education for children. And I know some of you have already made donations to mission and service for this effort. So today we celebrate all the ways that we're called to be family and kin with one another, and the mothers and grandmothers in our lives who nurture and support us. As we gather today, if you have a candle at home, we invite you to light it as we light our Christ candle here at Knox. We give thanks for the light of Christ in our lives and in our world. Our rainbow candles are lit, and they remind us of the welcoming of all of God's rainbow children in our work to build an inclusive and diverse community. As well as we gather today, we acknowledge that we gather on Treaty 2 lands, traditional lands of the Dakota Sioux, the Anishinaabe, the Cree and Oji Cree and Dene, and we're here in the heart of the Métis Nation. As we join in worship today, just a reminder that next week we'll be together on Zoom. We will not have the live stream on YouTube, so you need to email Sharon in the church office to receive that Zoom link, and we'll have we'll do some different things together than we're able to do here on the live stream. So that's for Sunday the 16th. We invite you to join us on Zoom. We continue our series today, A Place to Call Home, as we think about the places that we call home, both in our own lives as a physical reality and in our spiritual lives as well. And Olivia Boyce from the Brandon Food Council is with us today as our guest. So we're glad that you're here. Invite you to check in on the chat box, and I can see as I look over to my left that many of you have sent greetings today, and we're glad that you've joined us. As we prepare for this time of worship, let's take a deep breath in and let it out, and in, and out, and in, and out. And we create space for Spirit's presence with us. Let us join together in the song for our threshold moment, number 62 in more voices. There is room for all. We'll sing it first in English and then in French. With our focus on a place to call home, we draw from the wisdom of this place, Manitoba, land of the Great Spirit. And we draw from the wisdom and spirituality of the first peoples here on Turtle Island as we join in prayer with the four directions. I invite you to move to the directions in body or in spirit. You can do this standing or sitting where you're at. Let us join in prayer as we celebrate our Creator's glory. Let us face the east. Spirit of the East, guardian of wisdom, you move with the wind. We ask you to breathe new life into our spirits this day. Let us face the south. Spirit of the South, guardian of passion, you who kindle the flames, we ask you to shine new light into our hearts this day. Let us face the West. Spirit of the West, guardian of hope, you who we draw from many wells, we ask you to cleanse and renew our minds this day. Let us face the North. Spirit of the North, guardian of fertility, you who are the soil, the seed, and the tree, we ask you to empower our resolve for justice. Let us return to face the light of the Christ candle. Spirit of the Center, guardian of love, you who are the singing heart of the universe, we ask you to be here now in this virtual community. Help us to hear voices old and new, and help us to sing our many songs in harmony. Bless our gathering, celebrate with us, and be welcome always. Amen. There is room for all. Our song of Easter is number 158 in Voices United, Christ is Alive.
Listen to a paraphrase of Psalm 98 by James Taylor, the great dance of creation. Like orchestras competing with their conductor, nations murder each other's melodies, but God has other music. The colors of nature never clash with each other. In a garden, every shade of leaf and flower joins in a joyous chorus. Bare branch and bonsai provide counterpoint, balancing the beauty of blossoms. In the depths of the jungle, the sounds of termite and tiger weave a wondrous harmony. Iridescents echo through the ocean's deeps. The rhythm of life throbs in every cell. And the seasons swell and ebb away. From the farthest nebula to the tiniest atom, all creation dances to honor its choreographer. And God applauds each performance. In past translations of Greek scriptures, John 15 verses 9 reads, "As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Abide in my love." The word abide isn't used as much in modern speech. Rather, we will move more readily to the word reside, as it is alluded to in the scriptures today. To reside is to have a home, to be present or be along, and to be vested in place in someone or something. When we make our home within a faith community, we invest in belonging, being part in a particular place with a particular people, having a spiritual home. And when we make our home in the community where we live, we work to make it a place where everyone belongs. This does not require us to all have the same perspectives. It only asks of us to be present in each other with love. So here's a reading from John 15, verses 9 to 17. "As my Abba has loved me, so I have loved you. Reside in my love. And you will reside in my love if you keep my commandments. Just as I live on in Abba God's love and have kept God's commandments. I tell you all this, that my joy may be yours, and your joy may be complete. This is my commandment. Love one another as I have loved you. There is no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friends. And you are my friends, if you do what I command you. I no longer speak of you as subordinates, because a subordinate doesn't know a superior's business. Instead, I call you friends, because I have made known to you everything that I have learned from Abba God. It was not you who chose me, it was I who chose you, to go forth and bear fruit. Your fruit must endure, so that whatever you ask of Abba God in my name, God will give to you. This is my commandment that I give you, that you love one another." Let's observe a time of silence to meditate and reflect on what we've heard.
Today we welcome Olivia Boyce, Policy Coordinator for the Brandon Food Council, to join us in this series, A Place to Call Home. Come on up, Olivia. We're glad that you've joined us today. Yeah, just watch, come around that corner, I guess.
Bit of an obstacle.
Made it.
We lost some. Welcome. Well, it's great to have you with us at Knox today, and join us as we're thinking about all of the ways in which we can strengthen our physical homes, our spiritual homes, and our community. So, food is such an important place to creating a sense of home and a sense of community. It's often over a good meal that our friendships, our family relationships are strengthened. Oftentimes, as we sit with our neighbors, we know we're all missing that during this pandemic time. But before we get into your work with the Food Council, tell us just a little bit more about yourself. What would you like us to know about you?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. It's really wonderful to be here. And I 100% agree with your sentiments. Food brings everyone together. And I'm just so blessed to be able to do this work. So my name is Olivia Boyce. I coordinate the Brandon Food Council. And I was born and raised here in Brandon. I grew up in a single-parent household, experienced varying degrees of food insecurity throughout my life. And it's such a good opportunity to bring different perspectives and different people together, which has drawn me to many different people and projects and activities throughout Brandon. I would say that this whole kind of inspiration started though when I was in Mexico. I was working with a not-for-profit there, and there was no garbage disposal system. So we would dig a hole and we'd put all of our garbage into the hole and burn it. And you can see what decomposes, what doesn't decompose, what burns, what doesn't burn. And so I started buying wooden toothbrushes instead of plastic toothbrushes. And even the water there you can't drink. And so when you tell people there that we use drinking water in our taps for showering, for washing dishes, they're blown away that we have this like really good water that we're using for those things. And so just like really being intentional about our choices and how we live our life. And when it comes to food, that affects so many different areas.
That's right. Well, I'd be interested to know where you were in Mexico. I'm just going to move this down a little bit more so that it picks you up.
Is my voice too quiet?
No,
I'll try to
that's all
project
right.
more. I was just in the Baja on Mexico, about 5 hours south of Tijuana.
Okay.
Just in a little tiny town, all dirt roads. Yeah, it was a really good time. I could see the beach from my house.
Right. That's great. So, so that kind of experience, led you to thinking in different ways, as often, I think can be true when we get kind of outside of our comfort zone or outside of what we know into a new space. Tell us my understanding is that you were kind of the creator of the Brandon Food Council. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And if so, tell us a little bit more about what inspired you to do that.
It was really very happenstance. I was following my passions. I was a stay-at-home mom with a daycare, and my first kind of going out into the career world was an internship with the global market. And part of that work included working on food policy, which at the time I had no idea what that was. Carly Gasparini had reached out to me and said, "Do you want to work on food policy?" I just say yes to everything, as I'm sure everyone knows. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. I have no idea what that means, but we'll figure it out. And so I spent that internship learning about the food system and how food councils work and how municipal food policies affect everything, and provincial policies, federal policies, international policies. Everything is so connected, and there's so many different layers to it. And then how each kind of sector and individual and like farmers and indigenous people, and everyone has their own perspective and their own experiences, but food can bring everyone together. So that really excited me, and I just dove into it. So Food Matters Manitoba helped to continue my position, working towards a food council. We developed a steering committee that had Nancy McPherson, Lindsay Hargraves, Carly Gasparini was on it as well. and just other amazing people that were really dedicated to seeing a food council come to life in Brandon. It actually started, the idea of it was from the Poverty Committee. Jan Chaboye developed the Brandon Food Charter, which the city signed off on, and that recommended a Brandon Food Council to be developed. So it was really like our founding kind of piece of paper document that we're like, okay, let's go for this. And everyone's just kind of come along on board since then.
Great, great. You mentioned the relationship between the Brandon Food Council and Food Matters Manitoba. Could you tell, for those that might not be knowledgeable about Food Matters Manitoba, is there anything you can tell us about them or how that relationship worked?
Yeah, sure. So the internship was actually sourced through Food Matters Manitoba. They're a not-for-profit group based out of Winnipeg, but their mandate is for good food and to cultivate leadership throughout the province. So they do that in a lot of different ways, from education to partnerships, working in a lot of northern communities. So they've been a really great partner organization.
Mm-hmm. Great. So tell us a little bit more about the purpose of the Food Council, the work that you've been doing, the role that it plays in the community.
Yeah, sounds good. So the Food Council has been under development. We only meet 6 times a year. So the process of developing our strategic vision and mission is still under development. We're working on a strategic plan right now with a student from U of W. But in the meantime, we've kind of been a hub and a network for creating projects. A lot of people that are on the Food Council are just like, let's do things, let's be involved. And so there's just been so much momentum and so much passion. So we've been bringing the Reading for Local Food project, which is a seedling giveaway. Last year was our first year doing that, and it was like a mental health, just promoting growing and getting out in the dirt and just being outside in nature with friends and family in your household, which I'd actually started as a way to help families and children. When the schools closed and the pandemic was really just starting, we're like, what can we just give to kids that they can just do at home? And so people would even just take one watermelon plant, and we'd hear back and they'd say, oh, it grew, we had this big watermelon, and they were just shocked, right? Because people are actually really disconnected from food growing in general in the city. So to have this plant grow into something, it's like, wow, I did that. And just to watch that whole process, and people's eyes just light up when they talk about food growing. So that's been a really fun project.
Great. Yeah, I know with our children and youth here at Knox, we've done planting projects, and I think last year when the kids were out of school, we had them grow something at home, and then each week on Zoom we checked in to see how it was coming up. And children, they understand immediately the beauty of that. They're invested, in their plant. I don't think I ever thought about growing watermelons in Brandon. So that's kind of cool.
It was a favorite. And sweet potato.
And sweet potatoes.
Yeah, so Jad has been doing a research project on Manitoba growing sweet potatoes at ACC. So he donated a bunch of those. Poonam has been doing onion research, so she donated thousands of onion seedlings. And people were like, I want 5. And I'm like, okay, here's 50. I'm trying to distribute them one by one, separating them out. But yeah, and then people were like, wow, they grew. They're just shocked. They're mind blown. So it's just such an easy way to be involved. And it's had a lot of support.
Yeah, I think that was one of the gifts of the pandemic, was that people maybe that had gardened in their childhood but not for a while got into it. Others had more time. I know it was great mental health for us at home to get out into the garden, to grow. And then I know in the fall, when I went to go and get some canning lids for Patty because we ran out at home, you couldn't find canning lids anywhere in Brandon. So, the whole process of preserving food, maybe picked up a bit as well.
Yeah, we
So
actually
it's
did
encouraging.
a harvesting and processing workshop last fall as well. A local traditional, Indigenous harvester used some deer meat, and we built a smokehouse, and she taught us how to smoke it, and in a good way. And that video is up on our YouTube channel as well.
Oh, great. Yeah, and so is that under the Brandon Food Council on YouTube?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah, maybe we can put a link up on our page as well. That sounds great. I'll have to watch it because a neighbor delivered me some deer meat this Christmas, and I need to figure out what to do with it. So
yeah, definitely smoke it.
that's a first for me.
It's good.
So that's great. So tell us about food security. Like, what does food security mean, and specifically, what does it mean for kind of Brandon and the Westman area?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's also a massive question.
Right, right.
Like all across Canada, like how you describe food security is such a big topic. So household food insecurity is a very specific measurement that's measured in the Canadian Health Census. So that determines varying degrees, from moderate to marginal to severe food insecurity. So that's a marker of material deprivation. So when you're talking about charity, poverty relief, that's specifically a household food insecurity issue. When you're looking at food security more broadly, it's much more of, it includes everything that you need for a food secure experience. So that means that there is food available everywhere, it's accessible, it's produced sustainably, it's obtained in ethical ways. The people accessing food have agency and choice in how they're accessing food and what they're accessing. So we're really looking at it holistically as this big picture. So I like that you asked about food security because that it really is the big picture view.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And do you have stats on, like, you talked about food insecurity and that measure on the health census. Can you tell us how many families are food insecure in Brandon? Do you have a sense of that?
So we don't have a measure in Brandon,
Yeah.
just because of the way that the measurement, the research is done. There's not enough samples in Brandon for a measurement here. In Manitoba at large, it's 14% of the population. However, that census doesn't include anyone not in a house. So no one from the homeless population, no one on reserves also. On reserve, household food insecurity is much higher, especially up north. It can be as high as 60% of the population being food insecure. We know that of that data, 1 in 5 kids in Manitoba live in food insecure households.
One in five
it's
children
staggering.
in Manitoba live in a food insecure household.
Yeah, and that's from what we know. We can assume that the numbers are much higher.
Right, right. Do you have a sense of whether there's been a change with that during the pandemic? I mean, I know I'm hearing from some families that there's, because of the federal aid, there was maybe some additional money for, food and staples. But we also know that the price of food is going up and other things are going up. But do you have any sense of how the pandemic has changed that at all?
There was a survey done in May of last year, but as far as I know, there hasn't been any new data. And that May data was mostly capturing loss of employment.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Last week we had Ross Robinson here talking about the Everyone Eats Brandon program, which was a great story, and he mentioned you're working with them and lining up the partners. So a wonderful thing to celebrate. Are there other projects that you're hoping to bring to fruition, or projects that are currently happening that you haven't mentioned yet that you want to kind of highlight?
There's always things coming down the pipeline. Everyone Eats has definitely opened up, definitely like an awareness of food waste and the food rescue opportunities that exist. It's astronomical. It like makes me want to puke how much food is being thrown into the landfill. So that's kind of been next on the radar, is figuring out how we can help to distribute food throughout the Westman region, not just in Brandon here, because a lot of the food that is available is in Winnipeg. So helping smaller communities to tap into those resources that are available. Also looking at different projects around Canada and around the world that fit well with our community. In Winnipeg, they've been doing the farmers market currency with Direct Farm Manitoba, and there might be a possibility to bring something like that here to Brandon. So our eyes are always open. If you have ideas for projects or solutions, definitely contact us.
Great. Yeah, and we were talking before the service just about connecting with the green team here at Knox and with Madeline and in some of that work. I just want to check in. I don't know if I invited people to type their questions in the chat box if they have any, but are there any questions there from the community, Bernie? Okay.
Yeah, if you have any questions, I'm all ears.
So anything that you want to highlight that you've learned in doing this work here in Brandon? Anything that's surprised you or, you know?
I've learned a lot. Like I said, I started with no prior knowledge, and I've really just learned as I go. The biggest highlight has just been how many people care, and how much knowledge we actually already have in our community. So a big part of my work has just been creating a platform for people to connect and to share that knowledge with each other. And I'm hoping to be doing a lot more of that on our YouTube channel as well. Earlier this year, we held an event, Edible Brandon, and we had a few people speaking there, and there's so much information available just on that event, YouTube. And so yeah, hoping to do a lot more of that, just kind of sharing, because Brandon's large enough that you can not meet people, but small enough that you kind of think that you would. So just like creating those opportunities, those networks has been a big piece. And yeah, I'm just blown away by the support and the amount of time and ways that people are willing to be involved.
Yeah, that's good news. And you know, through this series, you know, we had Barb McNish from Samaritan House here, and Lisa Ramsey from the Bear Clan, and Ross with Everyone Eats. And it's great to hear about the partnering that's happening. It's great to hear about how people are sharing resources, participating together and educating the public. I mean, and just lots of creativity too in addressing some of the systemic issues that we're wrestling with here in Brandon. So it's been really inspiring, you know, to hear all these stories and to listen to what's happening.
That's a really good point. Yeah, that was one thing that was noted when we held a public survey, was that people wanted to see what was actually happening, if there was things happening. They said, if there's going to be a Brandon Food Council, we don't want it to be underground. We don't want it to be hidden.
Right.
We want to see what's going on. We want to be involved.
Right. Nice. Well, and I know a lot of times, like you've had a couple of pieces in the Brandon Sun lately about the work of the Food Council, but not everybody reads